Hello and welcome to my presentation on my FMP project in games design. In this video I will go over the story, inspiration, gameplay and some of the features that I was going to add but did not have enough time to implement into my final game. For the FMP we had to decide between a number of different themes and words to base our game off. I chose cottagecore and horror. I chose these words as I felt that I could explore more visual aspects of my game and focus on more stylized objects and assets. I decided to base my game off the fairy tale of Hansel and Gretel. I thought that this would really work well with both the themes I'd chosen, as the story is set in a cute and cozy cottage made out of candy, but it holds a dark and menacing secret as there is a terrifying and spooky witch that lives there. I was really interested in combining the sweet and charming appearance of the gingerbread house from the fairy tale along with the horrifying and disturbing presence of the witch that lives there. I thought that this fairy tale would be a unique way of combining my two chosen themes. I really enjoyed creating and designing the different assets in the world. I found it quite fun to try and generate ideas about what kind of treats and food the different furniture in the room should be. I enjoyed learning and researching about the original story of Hansel and Gretel. I tried to base more of my research on darker fairy tale based games. One of the most influential ones that I found was a game called American McGee's Alice Returns to Madness. I thought that this was really inspiring and perfectly balanced the ideas of innocent childhood fairy tales with concepts of fear and horror. I also loved the game's use of using the mind and imagination as the main way to represent the fairy tale aspects in the game and narrative. I found another game called Psychonauts that also used a similar method in their game, and I decided to use both these games as the main inspiration for my game design. Story revolves around Hansel from the original fairy tale trying to find his sister, who he believes is held hostage by the witch in her gingerbread house. He ventures out there to find her, although he can never seem to find her, as this is because the gingerbread house, along with the witch, are not real but all figments of his imagination as he tries to cope with the loss of his sister. I know I've overscoped in the story, but I really wanted the world to be based inside the human psyche, such as the games I have researched. As for the gameplay, it is quite limited. I had originally planned to have a lot more for the character to do, and more critical objectives for them to complete, such as collecting missing pages of the witch's cookbook to reveal a secret passage. However, due to the time constraints, I was unable to do this. Instead, I had to focus on more of the simple aspects of gameplay, and I am quite disappointed and would have hoped I could have added more like I originally planned. The game starts at the entrance of the cottage, where a trail of breadcrumbs leads the player throughout the environment. The breadcrumbs lead the player to the different furniture in the room that the player can interact with. When the player walks closely to these assets, a piece of dialogue will appear to present the player's thoughts. I thought that this mechanic would at least help define the narrative more in the game. The breadcrumbs lead the player to the top of the table. Sadly though, I didn't have enough time to finish, so this is the final destination the player can get to. I was hoping to add more text to the 2D assets so that when the player jumped onto the counters to find them, they would interact and would have more interesting dialogue. I made the 2D assets to represent the character's imagination and the current state of his mind. This is why most of the drawings are quite gory, as they're supposed to represent his fear and worry about what has happened to his sister, while also trying to hint towards the idea that she isn't alive anymore. Overall, I really enjoyed this project and I am really proud of the way it turned out. While I am disappointed at the lack of gameplay, I feel that the visuals and the amount of detail I have on the world and the assets compensates for this. If I had more time, I would have added even more details such as animation for the 2D assets, like bubbles and steam coming from the pots. I also found that this was really helpful in helping me decide on what aspects of game design I prefer to do more of. I really enjoyed creating all the different designs and models for the game, and I would like to focus on more of these visual assets and elements more in the future. Thank you for listening to my video, and goodbye.